To get started today, guys, we have a list of items we want to go through, and this came up because we thought that it would be one of the most important kind of trainings to get you guys started, especially those that are newer to solar and stuff like that. And not even necessarily newer. Just I get a lot of experienced reps also asking questions, about certain things related to how to identify a bad deal and stuff like that, right? Condos, um, land use, things like that. That's going to really revolutionize the way you guys approach a project. I know we all get really excited to close that deal, right, when we get an opportunity, and it's important to kind of do a little bit of legwork before you get too excited. And then there's always ways to kind of to figure out workarounds to these situations. And so this is what we're going to go over in today's training. Okay. So the topic of it is how to identify a bad deal and something else. Let me pull it up. And something else. Now, we're going to go ahead and as we go along, you guys we're going to stop and do like a little bit of Q&A between the sections. And always feel free to drop your questions in the chat. Luis is going to go ahead and pick those up. Luis is using my profile for some reason. He's got my face on there, so I'm not in here twice. And so yeah, if you guys have any questions and anything that comes up that strikes a chord, go ahead and drop that question in the chat, and we'll get to it, as soon as we're done kind of explaining whatever it is we're talking about. But let me just move my screens around here so I can get organized. All right, there we go. Okay, how to identify a bad deal and prepare for your appointments like a pro. So let's go. The first topic we want to talk about is identifying property types. Okay, property types in residential, particularly, we have 4 or 5 that stand out. All right, Selby, I know you're a little bit more advanced. Can you tell us what those 4 or 5 property types are?
Yeah, like so just like isn't like what you're looking for in like the roof, shading.
Oh, property type. As far as like zoning, when you pull up a title report, you got a single family home.
Yeah, single family, multi-unit, commercial. Those are the main 3 that I see out here.
Okay, so those are good. Besides those, in the residential, we're going to break it down a little bit more. In the residential zoning type, we've got single family home. We've got a duplex. I don't know if your state, they're popular, but in California, it's a great investment, by the way, to own a duplex and rent out half of it. A lot of people do that. So duplex, mobile/manufactured homes is another property type. Apartments, or also known as multifamily dwellings, and then condos, row homes, and townhomes kind of fall into the same category. All right, so we got single family homes, duplex, mobile/manufactured homes, apartments, also known as multifamily dwellings, condos, row homes, and townhouses. All right, so the first type of property I want to talk about is a single family home. That's the one we always want to go after. It's the typical residential scenario where you got a family, no shared walls. You don't share the roof with anybody. So that's a single family home. All right. With a single family home, the things you want to check prior to submitting a proposal or even closing a deal, check for an HOA, right? HOAs typically, and we'll get a little bit more into HOAs down here further, but HOAs typically are cool with solar, especially in California. But in places like South Carolina, they're a little different out there. They don't really love solar, so They make you kind of adhere to the rules. So the state hasn't really mandated that HOAs um, comply with solar energy. So just to give you a brief synopsis what of how California works as far as like HOAs is the protection for property owners is that if your solar project costs more than 10% more to um, follow HOA rules, or you lose 10% in production, then the HOA has no say in it. So you can literally put them on the front of the house if the back of the house is going to cost you more. All right. And I think that's changed actually recently. It's been like years since I've read the ruling, but it only gets better. And the HOAs in residential are typically like they're cool with it. So it's just like a standard procedure where you just send them the plans, and they used to be it used to be where the committee would get together and kind of talk about X person's solar project and vote on it. And now it's not the case. Now it's just a pretty straightforward process. Um, it does vary if it's like a condo and shared. So we'll go over that here when we get to condos. But the next property type, oh, sorry, before I move out of single family homes, check for HOA. That's one. The second one is check and ask for roof type and age, right? A lot of us get ahead of ourselves when we're qualifying a customer during an appointment setting or something like that. We totally forget to ask what kind of roof it is. Typically, homeowners will know how long ago they replaced the roof. So that's going to be a good indicator of whether or not this is going to be a good deal or a bad deal. Specifically, if they're going for a lease or a purchase, right? With leases, just so you know the economics of it, in California, places like California, Illinois, Massachusetts, where leases are not terrible, you can sometimes sneak in a partial part of the roof. Um, when I say partial, typically where the panels are going to be installed, that's where you're going to want to re-roof, because the rest of the house is not important to the solar project, right? In this case, so yeah, it's important to check on that, right? Know the life of the roof. In some cases, we are able to get a waiver from the installation company. That means that if even if the roof's in bad shape, then the customer can sign a waiver and say, "Hey, that's fine. I'm responsible for the roof from here on. If I need to replace it or take it off, I'm going to pay for it, and any damages are basically going to be on me because I don't want to pay for this roof today." Right? So that's totally okay. It's not uncommon to see that. We do have a 30-year warranty that we can add on through Solar Insure. And I know we talked about that last week, but we can add on an extended warranty where Solar Insure would cover some of that stuff. So it's not always a terrible deal to ask them to sign a roof waiver if they don't want to pay for the roof, right now, or it messes up with the economics. John has a question. It says, "Did that affect the warranty in that situation?" Yes, when they sign a roof waiver, the installation contractor is basically saying, "I'm not going to warranty your roof for more than a year," which when it's typically 10 years. So yeah, it's just basically saying after a year, like, it's not on me, man. Your roof is bad. So if you pitch them a roof deal with their loan or lease even, and they're like, "No, I just want to save money and I don't want to do the roof today. I want to do it myself and I'm not ready for it," or the roof still has maybe 10 or 15 years left of life on it, then it might not be a good idea to replace that roof now. Although I like to tell people, listen, you do it now. Not only are you getting tax credits, you're also getting the roof finance, that 0.9 or 1 point whatever interest rates it is. You're never going to get that interest rate from a roofing company directly. Like, I've never heard of a roofing company having financing like that. So two things, right? You get the tax credits when you do the roof, you get better interest rates, and then not only that, the net present value of the dollar that you're going to spend on that roof today is much less than it is going to be in 10 or 15 years, right? So you might pay $5 a square today, and then 10 years down the line, when COVID is like really really taking off, your roof might cost $10 a square. Who knows, right? But why gamble on it? Just do it now, get it done. have a new roof, put a 30-year warranty on it, and forget about it. Just save money from here. So, yeah. Does that answer your question there, John? I hope so. All right. Moving
It
on to the
does. Thank
next
you.
thing. Yeah, no problem. So single family, and then check and ask for the. I can't tell you how many times people kind of forget to ask this question about the electric panel, right? Granted, a lot of homeowners aren't going to know what that even is. Like what? Like, and they'll like. I asked a customer to take a picture of the meter the other day, and they went to the gas meter and took a picture. And then I've gotten water meter pictures. Like anyway, um, it's kind of important to know, what type of box there is. A lot of times they'll know, 8 times out of 10 they're like, oh yeah, it's the original one, and this house was built in the 60s or 50s, and that's like okay, so right away 90% of the time that's going to need a panel upgrade or something like that. Okay. So we know that, and when we're building the proposals, we're building a proposal with either a roofing quote or an electric panel upgrade or anything like that. Always, if you can, obviously provide pictures. Like that's the best way to do it. If you send us a picture right away, within minutes, we'll know. Oh yeah, that's the main panel. Or we can do an RMA. An RMA is a renewable meter adapter, which is sort of a workaround to upgrading the entire panel. Sometimes we try to get away from that. We'll explain that in other trainings, but yeah, ask that question, because that might be a deal breaker. In some cases, I've ran into projects and I've had to drop a couple where the utility company is like, oh yeah, I can't replace your meter here. I need to move it over there. Also, by the way, it's underground. Also, by the way, it's a direct burial cable, so we're going to have to dig it up. We're going to have to take it all the way back to the hand hole, and that's going to cost you $10,000. So who's going to want to pay 10 grand on top of solar? Like that's not going to happen just to get a panel upgrading. Sometimes it's one of these things that's going to make it a bad deal right away. Okay, so don't waste a lot of time doing that. We'll find out at some point, especially with these trenching with the trenching situation that comes up. I don't know that that happens much in other places. I know Southern California specifically, is notorious for having underground wires that have no conduit. Go figure. All right. So moving on to a duplex. A duplex are a personal favorite of mine, and I'll tell you why. I like to typically, when I see a duplex, I walk in, and if I'm talking to the property owner, 8 times out of 10, they're going to own the other one and they're renting it. That's just the way it is. Or they have a family member. Only once have I had uh, a, a, a landlord, homeowner that owned the other one, but didn't have a good relationship with their tenant, and their tenant wouldn't let them put panels. Like, I'm like, what? But you own it. Like, anyway, that's a good opportunity to get a double decker there, or a twin system installed, right? Which brings me to my next point, aggregate metering, right? How many of you, who knows here what aggregate metering is? Go ahead and chime in. All right, nobody? So aggregate metering, what that means, it's basically virtual net metering. In most utilities, you can, as long as you own the parcels that connect any piece of land, you can have 20 meters on these parcels. As long as you own them all, you can basically put in 1 meter and feed all the solar into 1 meter and have it distributed virtually, meaning by billing system, obviously. All the energy that you produce in one array, you can have it distributed throughout all the meters, and that's called aggregate metering. Okay. It's a lot. It's easier than it's much more difficult than it sounds, I guess I should say. It's a little bit, the applications are typically like super lengthy. They're going to want all the utility bills in the same name. So, sometimes I've ran into a situation where there's a piece of land, and this landowner has, tenants all over the place, and they all have different bills. So they'll have to change the name on the billing so that we can aggregate all the meters. And then that tenant can sell the power back to all the tenants at either a premium, the same rate, but at least they're not giving away that margin that we have between solar and utility. They're not giving it away to the utility. As a property owner, you want to maximize anything you can out of the property that you own, and that includes the power now, right? If you had a well, you can, you can sell the water. I don't know, but electricity is just like that. We're seeing a lot more of that. More and more tenants are like, oh, waking up and saying, oh shit, I'm leaving so much money on the table. Maybe I should consider selling the power instead of the utility. So duplex, check for shared metering and age. Obviously, same thing. Make sure that the meter isn't 100 years old, so that, because if we're going to upgrade that panel, we're going to have to upgrade all the meters, and so might as well get solar for everybody, right? It's the perfect time. So typically shared roof on a duplex. So with a duplex, obviously, and this is gonna spill into a little bit when we talk about condos, with that have shared roofs and tenants and stuff like that. But you'll want to distribute the roof evenly between the two units so that it's fair. So not you can't give the north side to the guy that's going to put solar last. Like that kind of sucks. But at the same time, like if they're not moving on it, then what can you do? But if you physically own your side of the roof, it's open season. You can put panels all over the place, but it's in the case when you have a building and you have four people and they share one roof. So you guys get what I'm saying. Like you kind of have to distribute it evenly and fairly, so that everybody gets the same sun hours, so to speak. Okay. Oh, and then a duplex. That's typically a good idea to do a bargain bundle for the installation, because what you could do is you can save money on permits. You only have to do one site audit, one install day. You can basically bundle it up and give them a discount to do two installs. Most installers aren't going to see it like that, but what we do, instead of submitting two jobs, we submit one job, and they'll do the aggregate metering in the back. So that's considered one job, one permit. So that's one way to save. You can pass those savings on to the customer, and close that deal. So duplex, that was duplex. So here's a popular one. Um, Mobile homes / manufactured homes. Are those two things different? Maybe. I just know that manufactured homes and mobile homes are allowed under certain circumstances with finance companies. Now, it's not so much the city that won't approve the solar for one of these properties. It's that the finance company is not going to want to let somebody lend or borrow money if that mobile home, if they don't own the land. That's number one. So you got to check for that. They have to own the land. So they can have a mobile home, manufactured home, own the home, but they might be renting out a space in a mobile home park. So that's an immediate, you're done, DQ. No, that's not going anywhere for sure, unless they pay cash out of pocket to put it on their roof. Then by all means, we'll get it done. But that's the case where we can't get financing for them. So Isabella has a question. Let me see what that is. Mobile homes include those tiny homes, recreational cottages, right? I'm assuming so. As long as it's anchored to the ground permanently, and they're going to want pictures. Like the finance company's going to want you to send them pictures of where it's like actually like screwed into the ground. They just want to make sure that their investment isn't going anywhere, right? So if you can't hitch it up and like take it with you, then no, that's a no-go. So permanently fastened, they have to own the land. And another one that also that a lot of people miss is they have to have their own meter. All right, mobile homes are, some of them, some mobile parks are actually pretty smart. What they'll do is they will set up, when they built them, they set up an infrastructure where they basically trenched out to all the mobile homes, and they submeter, right? So what that means is they have one master meter, and then they get a bill from SDG&E, which is, they get a super good rate. They're on a rate called RV and parks or whatever, and they pay like a quarter of what everybody else pays. And then what happens is they turn around and they sell it to the tenants at a premium. Like, go figure, right? So in those cases, they might own the land. They might own the mobile home or the manufactured home or cottage or whatever, but they don't have their own meter. So that's a non-starter right there. We cannot interconnect this to the grid if they're sub-metered by a master meter that belongs to the park. In those cases, you have two options. The one option you have if they are sub-metered is they can go off grid. Okay, there's nothing stopping them from saying, you know what, RV park, screw you, boom, here's my battery, I'm just going to go fully off grid. That means say goodbye to air conditioning, say goodbye to pool pumps, say goodbye to anything other than lighting, refrigeration, and just minor stuff, because you're going to have to live with at least 2 or 3 days of autonomy. That word is popular in off-grid systems. Autonomy means that you just have to have a shit ton of batteries to be able to sustain 3 days of no light, right? So if you just have like a bad weather week, you don't want to run out of battery juice, and then you're stuck like not doing anything. So off-grid systems, they sound cool, but they're probably like twice as much as a regular grid-tied system. So don't get too excited about those. They're not popular unless you're talking to, maybe like a hardcore prepper that just like, I don't give a shit. Like $1 million worth of whatever. Yeah. And I've had customers like that they'll just, put in 100 kilowatts of outback storage, energy storage, generators and all this other cool stuff. And, they're out there living off the grid. So if you can afford it, by all means. But other than that, I can't imagine that somebody that owns a mobile home living in a mobile home park can afford an off-grid system. So again, you might want to go to the mobile home park and say, hey, what if we do solar for you guys? And then you get cheaper power, even cheaper power, and then sell that to the tenants. So that's a good idea. And if you run into that situation. All right, moving on. I think we talked way too much about that subject. They must own the land. Okay, apartments. So apartments, also known as multifamily dwellings, are going to be almost an immediate DQ with all finance companies, including leasing, Sunrun, SunPower. Even Goodleap does not want to let anybody borrow money if they are in a multifamily dwelling because they are typically owned by a landlord. So, i.e., renters do not qualify for solar right off the bat. However, you can go directly to the property owner and say, hey, instead of you buying power, or instead of your tenants buying power from SDG&E, why don't you get solar on your roof, claim all the tax credits, get all the benefits, sell the power, and then make more money? That's a good idea. That's the only thing you could really do with apartments, and nobody is targeting that. It's just a big, wide open industry that nobody's hitting it. And that's going to be considered a commercial deal. So commercial financing, don't expect any, residential financing for anything zoned multifamily or even commercial. So you can't mix residential financing with commercial. It just doesn't fit. They don't like it. They don't want it. Condos. Now here's a tricky one. Condos, townhomes, row homes. All right. Now condos typically have where you might have like a 2-story condo and you own it. It looks like a townhome, but it's a condo for some odd reason. But you own the roof and you're good to go. The HOA, actually, for the most part, condos, they own the roof. Okay, so you own the walls, but you don't own the roof with a condo sometimes, most of the time. Now, if the HOA allows solar, if they're okay with it, most of the time. And here's a situation I ran into recently, and we just got this installed. It took us 8 months to do this job. It was a condo association, and there was two side by sides, and the HOA owned the roof. This roof, I'm telling you, was like 30-year-old comp roof. Okay, it was toast. It was crap. Like, and this HOA is literally falling apart. They're having trouble collecting payments because people are like, no, what am I paying for? My building's falling apart. Like, you guys aren't taking care of it. So in these cases, the HOA is like, well, I'm responsible for the roof, and you're saying you're going to put solar and fix the roof, and then all I have to do is have the customer sign a waiver of responsibility. go ahead, man. Like, here you go. Here's my approval, you know? So they approve these jobs when the roof is like falling apart, and we're like, yeah, we'll take care of it. No worries. You know, I'll build it into my PPA or lease in California. And so there you have a little bit of room to kind of negotiate with the HOA. They'll be okay with it. It's just a long process because it's so new to them. They're like, what do I do? Like, I've never had this situation. And once one of those goes up, I'm telling you, the whole complex is going to go solar. Like, that's how untouched the condo kind of market is right now. It's like, if you can find an old condo with an association that's like 40 years old, and they're just broke. They don't they're all pretty much nonprofit. And then a good indicator of those is when the committee is comprised of the homeowners and not like anybody representing the actual association. It's weird, but those are good situations. Also difficult. I've had condos where the homeowner basically, owns that part of the roof, and then I've had situations where I've had 8 tenants in one building, and then we had to split up the roof in 8 different pieces. And so we had to have a meeting with all 8 people to see, just to kind of allocate, okay, this piece is going to be yours. This has so many sun hour potential. You can put so many panels. You can save this much money. If you want to go solar, talk to me. Otherwise, we're not going to touch your roof, right? So we'll only touch and fix this person's part of the roof. And that's cool because we did that with a customer. We fixed half of the roof and put solar, and then the other one, the neighbor, like, they were just hesitant on going solar. And as soon as they saw that happen, they're like, what the hell? I want a new roof. I want solar panel. And so they just fell right in line. So good opportunities, but also tricky. But don't expect these things to happen like that. You don't get 30-day installs on condos with HOAs. Anything with the HOA might extend it another 30 days. So if you don't want to go through all the hoops and wait that long, I guess identifying a bad deal with condos is going to be a condo where there's so many units. I would say more than four is like pretty much impossible. You can't get more than 4 people in a room to agree to something. It's like so hard to do it. I wouldn't even go down that route, honestly. So that's just me. Four, yeah, it's done. I've done it before. It just took a lot of energy, and I ended up building that project for like a $300 commission. Hey, but at least we put a stake there, and everybody else is falling through. But now we have to put free roofs on everybody's house, and I'm not making any money on it. But I just wanted to prove that we could do it, and that people could go solar, even though they were in a condo. And so now that we have that, we kind of understand the experience of the process now, and it's just a little bit longer wait. Not impossible. And most PPAs and also loan companies will fund it. Okay, so it's not a multifamily dwelling; it's considered a condo, townhome, row home. So townhomes and row homes, you typically don't have any issues, except for an HOA approval, and we'll take care of that as well. Which brings me to my next HOAs. And I think we already touched on all of these. So California HOAs, don't let a homeowner tell you, oh, my HOA won't allow it. That is complete nonsense. They don't know what they're talking about. Most people have HOA fear inside of them. For some reason, they're cops to them. Like, no, like, HOA has no power over, where you live, over, what you can do to your house, except for like South Carolina, where you can't put any panels in the front of the house if they don't want you to. And if you do it, they're going to fine you. They're going to go to court. They're going to get their way because the state is not protecting them. So check with your state. I don't know the rules. Do a little bit of research on that. I only know California and South Carolina, and that's pretty much where my HOA knowledge goes. As far as I know, I'm not afraid of any utility or anybody. If they give me a little bit of resistance, we're gonna push back really hard, because like, nobody's gonna tell me that we can't build solar anywhere. Like, that's just how I live, right? Okay, next property type, commercial. Now, a lot of people get really excited when they see a commercial deal, and rightfully so. They could be really good deals. They can leave a lot of money, and they can make a really happy customer. However, you have to check the profile on this commercial customer, right? For example, I've had people bring me like a taco shop, right? Taco shop is this little tiny building, and they have like an $8,000 bill, and they're like, "Oh, it's 8,000. It's going to be at least 500 kilowatts and blah blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah, where are you going to put them?" Go to Google Map, guys. Like Google Earth is your friend. It's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to save you a lot of money. Um, and yeah, just identify a bad deal by looking at the building first, and then seeing, hey, okay, dude, this guy has like exactly no room to put solar panels. So don't waste your time too much. Another good feature, a cool feature about Google Earth is you can now get on the street. I'm sure most of you know this. Look at the roof, and this applies to shading, right? This is another like huge topic that we want to talk about right now. But before we talk about shading, let's see. We got land use, commercial buildings. Let's finish that up, and then we'll jump into shading. But I really want you guys to give you some techniques to quickly identify when it's going to be a good deal or a bad deal, right? So commercial buildings, yeah. So a good commercial building is going to be anything in retail, tenant occupied. Um, what else do I have here? Bakeries are really good because you got big space. Tenant owned again. Let me see. I put these somewhere. Where'd they go? Warehouses. Oh, warehouses, shipping warehouses. Like if you can get your hands on a shipping warehouse that does manufacturing even, or that has like conveyor belts and things like that, man, those profiles are great. They have a bunch of roof space. They're flat, and they have a huge energy demand, and so then we can kind of play around with demand, batteries, and solar offset. That's another thing. I ran into a customer once. They had a $20,000 a month bill. Okay, that's a lot of you. That's going to be insane. But San Diego Gas and Electric, like, that's nothing. So this was a shipping building where they literally show up in like 18 wheelers and they take fruit. So it's an export business that. The fuck, did it kick me out?
I
Oh,
still see you.
okay.
No, we got you, man.
I lost my screen. Okay, I got it. So this I gotta put it on do not disturb because like a phone call just booted me out of everything. There you are. So they come and they drop a bunch of strawberries, and it's just like cooled or refrigerated giant warehouse, and that's why they spend 20 grand a month, because they're refrigerating fruit that just has to be like super cold. And so a $20,000 refrigeration profile, it's exciting when you see it and you're like, oh my god, this is like a megawatt on this roof. Is perfect, it's huge. And we got all excited, and then when we started looking at it, we put it into Energy Toolbase. Energy Toolbase, ETB, is basically the industry standard um, commercial energy profiling tool that you can use. Okay, it's really difficult to use. I wouldn't recommend you just go get a trial and then try it out, because you'll have to take some webinars. I'm not saying it's impossible. Hey, if you're into it, you can spend a lot of time doing it. If you're the type of person that likes to learn these things, then go for it, please. And then I can pay you to do my ETV designs. But those are crazy because you have to get minute by minute intervals, and commercial is like that. And that's probably another training, actually, getting into that discussion. But um, long story short, we couldn't do anything more than 50 kilowatts of solar on that job, because anything more would have made that deal even worse. Okay, because of demand charges. All right, demand charges are one thing, kilowatt hour charges are another. Now we can knock out kilowatt hour charges all day, all right, with solar. Now, but with demand, as soon as the sun goes down, or if it's a cloudy day, you're still consuming kilowatts, but now you're hitting that demand. So when the solar panels go to sleep or they're not working, you don't have a shield to protect you against the big old demand charge. A demand charge is basically how much power you consume in a 15-minute interval. And no matter, so they're going to take the highest peak of power that you, so let's say 100 kilowatts of draw. All right, not kilowatt hours, kilowatts. So kilowatt hours is the measure of energy. Kilowatts is a measure of power. So how much power you need? This means all your refrigeration units are turning on at the same time. You got all the lights on. You got the AC blowing. That's a ton of power that you're using. So that puts a huge stress on the grid. Huge, tremendous. They're, that's when they start going crazy. Like, oh shit, what's this guy doing? Hit him with the demand charge. Bam. So all of a sudden in 15 minutes, you just accumulated a $6,000 bill or a $10,000 bill, and you can't get rid of it. So the when you have solar panels, they're going to do their work as much as they can, but they can't protect you all night. So this facility is drawing power 24 hours a day, right? And so there's no protection after the sun goes down. Boom, demand charges. So you can't do anything about them, right? So you can only knock off like $8,000 of that bill with solar, but the rest of it, and then that kind of makes it a bad deal. I'm not saying that that's the end of the line for that customer. There's options. Energy storage, yeah, it's an option, but it's an expensive one. And there's another option. It's called cogen. Cogen is basically a giant generator that produces power off of like propane, and it's basically pulling power from that generator instead of pulling power from the grid, and it's much cheaper. Boom. I mean, that's a solution. You put in a cogen system, you throw in 100 kilowatts of solar, you just made a lot of money, and the customer's saving 10 grand a month. That's a solution right there. So commercial properties are good. I've had nonprofits. I mean, I think most of my commercial jobs are nonprofits, churches. Um, Churches. I've had a few of those. AAs. What are another one? The Masons. I had veterans associations are a really good profile because they're in there all day drinking beer and like having fun and running the air conditioning, and they're a nonprofit, and we can get financing for those. So typically giant buildings too. Things to look out for with those, right? But yeah, try to stay away from, or at least it's it's hard to identify a bad deal in commercial unless you get the bills. Send them over to us within an hour. We'll tell you, hey, this might not be worth pursuing, man. Like, or we'll tell you right away, hey, just we need a little bit more information. The key to commercial is the financing. Okay, if you have a job that's like between 30 and 60 kilowatts, almost nobody is going to want to finance it because it's so small. We have a few partners, but they have to meet certain criteria. So anything above 100 kilowatts, you have a better odds of finding finance partners that'll touch it because there's just huge incentives and stuff like that. And especially with third-party owned systems like leases or PPAs and commercial, not only are they taking the tax credit, they're taking depreciation on the system. They're writing off the system. Like they're paying nothing for it, and they're charging up through the nose for that power that they're producing. So good deal on those. Let's see. We just got a couple more here. Teamster unions. That is a great question. Are those nonprofit? Well, Teamster unions, here's the deal with those. I imagine, right? Because they have their own like labor force, electricians and such, we might not even have a chance at that contract. It might be directly with their unions and stuff like that. So I'm sure they have it handled there. I don't think that we can really get into it unless there's a union that's like, hey, I have a ton of electricians that know nothing about solar. How about you train us? And yeah, well, for sure. Like, we'll help you guys out. We can get them financing as long as they're a nonprofit. And then we can even hire their electricians to install it. They would love it. I think it's a great idea. Let's shoot for it. Because I'm sure they have big giant buildings too where they gather and like do all their cool stuff. Yeah, leases and PPAs are definitely an option for commercial deals if the utility. Another one, rates, utility rates. That's a big one. Like that's the first thing you guys need to identify when before submitting a deal. Man, if you have a customer that's paying 6 or 7 cents for power, it's going to be hard to find them anything that's going to be lower than 10 cents or 11. The levelized cost of energy, okay? LCOE, it's an acronym for the levelized cost of energy. That's basically what the solar costs converted to price per kilowatt hour over the life of the system, which can be 25 or 30 years. So let's say I buy my system. I get the tax credits. I'm making payments. I'm whatever. It's even considered in the loan. Over the life of the system, you're not paying inflation, right? Because you're paying interest, and interests are fixed. So we're already predicting that. Over the life of the system, you're going to have the levelized cost of energy. It's easier to explain the benefits of solar to a customer when you convert things to price per kilowatt hour, because you're talking terms that they don't really understand, but it's easy for them to visualize. Oh, I'm paying 14 cents and now I'm paying 10 cents versus I'm paying $200 a month and I need to buy the solar for $60,000. Then they're like, what the hell? No way. I'm only paying 200. Look, yeah, but over 25 years, you got inflation, you got this, you got that. Like, okay, you try to tell them you're going to spend 150 grand in 25 years. They don't see that. Like, they see 60 grand and they're like, oh shit, a big debt. So if you convert things to price per kilowatt hour or levelized cost of energy compared to their current electricity rates, an electricity rate is really simple to calculate. You just take the monthly solar payment, whatever they paid that month for electricity alone, take that, and then divide it by the kilowatt hours that they consume that month. And that's going to give you the rate for power. Now in California, I keep reverting to California because that's what I know. And it works everywhere else, except it's a lot more visual in California, because anywhere in California, you're going to get an average of 28 to 40 cents a kilowatt hour utility. And when you show a PPA or a lease, you're showing price per kilowatt hour. So option one, your utility, 30 cents a kilowatt hour, goes up every year, 3.5%. Historically, over the last 30 years, inflation has cost us 200% in rate increases. There's no math. Just go look at this article. I'm not shitting you. Like, how much did you pay for gasoline 30 years ago? It's the same thing. So compare that. Option one, 30 cents for power. Option two, a PPA or a lease, 16 cents for power. Option three, a purchase, 12 cents for power. Which one do you like? That's simple. That's your pitch. Like, you need a napkin to do this. um, so yeah, it's if you convert these things to price per kilowatt hour, that's how you're going to know if it's a good deal or a bad deal, right? So take the last bill that you get, look at it always, and then just do the conversion. Get into the habit of making a conversion. Dollars, how many dollars I spent this month on electricity divided by the kilowatt hours. Do that for the last utility bill that you got, and you'll see the price per kilowatt hour. And then you can either calculate the price per kilowatt hour for your solar just by taking the payment, same thing, the payment for solar, and dividing it by the production for that year. It's the same exact thing, except you're talking solar investment payment divided by production. And the other one is utility expense divided by consumption. Two bad things versus two good things. Pitch it that way, and it's just a different way, like, of seeing things, right? So again, you do the math on that and you find out your customer is paying 7 cents, 8 cents, let's say 10 cents even. Okay, a lot of us in places like in Arkansas, Oregon, Washington, Idaho, 8 cents. Like, are you kidding me? How do you sell solar in these markets? It's tough, right? You have to sell the investment of it, right? The ownership, like the being proud of like owning your own power and also helping the environment. You have to throw all these things in there, because savings is probably not going to be the first thing you're going to sell. Put savings in the back, because the savings is going to happen after a certain like threshold. And that's why a lot of our proposal tools like Sonobi, Go Solo, they'll have like a little sliding scale which shows the inflation. And most of them, even if they're at 10 cents per power somewhere, when you slide that bar over to 5 years, that's the break even point. Everything above that is just going to go more savings, more savings, more savings. And then yeah, at the end of it all, you're gonna save a bunch of money, but it's a slow it's a slow churn. Think about when you're investing in stocks or investing in Bitcoin or anything. You want to throw that money in there and forget about it. You're gonna trust your gut on this. You're gonna trust your advisor or whoever, but you just have to sit on it. Like any investment that's good, you have to sit on it and watch it grow, and then just forget about it. At the same time, you're probably not going to spend much more than you're already spending, right? I think I kind of veered off topic there, but let me see. Somebody asked a question. Butch, sorry. Are you able to provide commercial financing? Yes, lots of them with commercial financing. The most important thing to put together first is a feasibility analysis. Okay, that means that we have to design the system, look at the utility right away. We're going to say, in order for this job to be, to look attractive to the customer and for the sales rep to make money, we have to price it out at this. Our installer is going to charge us that. You're probably not going to make a lot of money on it or none at all. Like that's the feasibility check. Or we'll tell you, hey, if you want to make 100 grand on this deal, you can price it at this, but you're going to have a hard time selling it. If you want to make 20 grand on it right away, you can still show some savings up front and then do that. So it's up to you. What do you want to do? And then we'll just kind of go from there. But we have to do a little bit of research on the property, on the whole utility green button data. I don't know if any of you are familiar with it, but some utilities, or most of them, have what's called the green button data, which shows minute by minute usage intervals and all this other stuff. And that's what we need for commercial. So green button data for commercial, or interval data. Commercial is not like residential. We can't just take the kilowatt hours and then calculate the system and then there's your payment. Like, that's never going to happen. It takes at least a week, maybe two, to get a proposal. So just, be patient. We can do the feasibility check within 24 hours and tell you, hey, this looks like a good deal. Just give us some time. Or it's just going to be like, hey, right off the bat, nobody's going to want to finance this. Here's a cash deal. The best thing you can do is sell them a cash deal. Depreciation, tax credits, write-offs. They'll know if they're a good company that's, cash rich. I know a lot of grow operations that are cash rich. They need to get rid of some of this money and then get some tax credits and stuff like that. They don't really need financing. They just want to increase their grams per watt. Grams per watt, I think it is. This is a buddy, a grower of mine. We talked about this, but that's a good analogy. I want to increase my grams per watt ratio. Like, oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, this is the way to do it. Next question is: do you divide the total amount or the fee for the electricity, excluding the delivery fees? No. Put all the fees in there. Put all the fees, the final payment, and divide that, because the price per kilowatt hour that the utility company is giving you includes all the fees. So, and the levelized cost of energy that the solar is costing you is also going to include all the fees, finance fees, buy down fees, also known as dealer fees, adders, and all that crap is all built in there. So yeah, definitely, it's a one-to-one comparison. Once you see it like that, people see it like that, and then you talk to them about investing and how they own their home and they're not renting it. It strikes a different chord, right? John Hale says, so you take the bill amount and divide it by the kilowatt hours used that month. Yeah, exactly. So whatever they paid for the electricity, including the fees, divided by the kilowatt hours that month, that's going to be the rate. Now, an important detail about that is some months are going to be lower. How do I phrase this? Okay, let's go back to the rates. Okay, so time of use rates. It's not always going to be a set standard rate, because in sometimes of the year, different times of the year, winter, summer, power is more expensive. Also, power is more expensive as you use more. Some places are still implementing the tiered system where, you use 300 kilowatt hours, tier one. More than that, tier two, and then super user tier three, and then blah blah blah. So it's going to really depend on the average usage. So if you look at a bill and they're on average they're paying the same damn thing and then they're consuming the same, then their average cost per kilowatt hour is going to be that. I love it when I get a utility bill and it's right there midsummer. It's their highest bill, and I can just right away, show them, oh man, you paid $600 this month, divided by 1,000 kilowatt hours. That's 60 cents a kilowatt hour. There's the math is right there. I'm not lying to you. So it sometimes it's favorable to do that, and then sometimes it's like, oh, it's the lowest month. This month you paid, $80 for 300 kilowatt hours. That makes it 28 cents. But in the summer you paid 60 cents. So pay attention to that, and then take the average between the two, and then go right in the middle. So learn to understand the utility rates, rate plans, tiered structures, and all that stuff. Like, just learn to read a bill, do a little bit of research, go into the utility website. Usually they have all this information there. So if you know that you're going to, you have a really good potential customer, it's worth the time it's worth a little bit of time to spend, 30 minutes or 20 minutes researching the net metering. That's a lot of people forget to do that. They forget to research, especially if you're in Oregon and you're selling a deal in Texas, right? I mean, I don't know a lot of these things. So when I pitch a deal in, say, Missouri or something, like, I have to go and research the net metering, because that net metering might have a different style of net metering, right? There's different types. Not all utility companies treat solar power the same. Some are more forgiving than others. Okay, so some of them might have a monthly true up, which like, for example, El Centro, IID, if any of you are familiar with Imperial Irrigation District in California, they do a monthly true up. So what that means is if you produced 1,000 kilowatt hours but only consume 500, those 500 extra, they're like, thank you, pocket it, and they're like, I told you, I only do monthly true ups. So thanks for the power. Next time, don't get so many solar panels. So be careful when that happens, because you're going to have a very angry customer and a very happy utility company. And that's just, we have to stop that. Yep. Okay. No more questions about that. So yeah, utility bills, learn to read them, learn to understand them, learn to, get the average and stuff like that. Kind of preempt how big the system is gonna be. One easy formula for you guys to size a system is really simple. It's simpler than you think. You don't have to have a calculator. You don't have to have a tool like none of that. Take a house. A typical house. Not a lot of shading, okay? Almost open, clear skies, and all this. And we're going to use sun hours to convert kilowatt hours, dividing the sun hours, and then that's going to give you your system size. Okay, so really simple. A really simple exercise is take, how many kilowatt hours does this guy consume? Let's say 15,000 kilowatt hours. Okay, 15,000 kilowatt hours. The house has a good east, west, and south facing roof. We're good. There's not a lot of shading, so I'm going to take those 15,000. I'm going to divide it by 1.5. 1.5. 1.5 is the dividing factor. I mean, I could almost do this in my head, but I'm not doing it. That's a 10 kilowatt system. All right, right off the bat, I know kind of what I'm looking at. Now, you have the same house. Now you have a shit ton of trees, lots of them. I've gotten proposals where I can't even see the roof, man. Like, what am I supposed to do with that? I can't build a design, because not even Project Sunroof can read it. Somebody was trying to get in, Selby. Okay, yeah. So Project Sunroof, guys, if anything, at least save Project Sunroof on your little favorites and always drop in the address there, because at least there you can get how many sun hours your system is producing. Okay, just try it out. Go to Project Sunroof. It's a Google product. They let you type in an address, and on the left side there, once you type in the address, it's gonna drop in, and it's gonna show you like how yellow it is. The more yellow it is, the more productive that roof can be. And the darker it is, the less production, right? So it'll tell you the sun hours. You can directly use those sun hours to divide by the kilowatt hours, and it'll get you a system size. Now, it's a 50-50 chance that it's not accurate, because it's just kind of like in there. But I did notice the other day when we typed it, I said, you know what, we should pull up Project Sunroof and let them kind of use it. And because this job that I just got in the submission is a perfect example. This house didn't even show up on Project Sunroof because it was covered by trees. So all the other houses are like yellow, 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 and then this one's disappeared. You can't find it. Like, it's like, oh, that just means that there's just entirely too much shading on that house. And the only way that you might make this deal work is if you chop down all the trees. Okay. Now, if those trees belong to the city, good luck. This job is done. If those trees belong to the homeowner, then they have to pay to remove it, or we can build it in to the cost. If it's a 25-foot tree or above $1,000 a tree, like, that's basically somewhat what it costs. I mean, I'm sure I can get guys to do it cheaper somewhere in some places, but just know that if they have 10 trees surrounding the house and they need to cut down all of them in order for this to even make sense, that's another 10 grand. They're going to lose all their trees. Some people don't want to lose their trees, and they're like, solar, kind of get a feel for someone. It's like, how much do you love your trees? Some people will say, like, I hate them. I want to get rid of all of them. They're just messing up my foundation and all these critters and blah blah blah, and they're just blowing garbage all over my. Okay, fine, all right, all right, all right. How willing are you to get rid of these? Let's look at it. Let's do a feasibility check on the house. So shading is one of the big deal killers that we have. It's right off the bat. If we cannot produce an Aurora report with the shade, we're going to tell you, boom, bad deal. Cannot even produce a report. In that case, you don't have to just write the deal off. You can do this. You can say to the customer, look, your property is heavily shaded. In order to get a good performance out of the system, I need to remove all these trees. Are you willing to do that and look at that option? Yeah. Great. Okay, cool. Then if we're willing to do that, let me show you a best case scenario. I'm going to put in $10,000 for worth of tree shaving or whatever it is. And if it's less, I'll give you a rebate. Let's go ahead and do it. It's going to cost this much. This will be your payment after removing all these trees. And then I need this system. I don't even have a system designed because I can't design it because you have too much shading. So I know once you cut down your trees, I'll use the 1.5 production factor, and then it'll get me a system size. Get him to sign the contract, do a site evaluation, get a tree trimming service out there, do all this. And if at the end of the day we can't pull it off, they can cancel the deal. You know what? It costs them an inquiry. That's it. But at least we got that far and they know what this project, if the project is even feasible, right? We'll know what after the site audit is done if we can even do anything here. Like, you don't have to write the project off completely. Just set the right expectations and then use the right, use the right path to get there. We're not going to provide you with a design. We're just going to say 10 kilowatts, $3 a watt plus $10,000 in adders. Here's your payment. Go sell it, and then we'll come back and see if it's possible. I don't think we have any more questions, and I think we hit everything here. Roof type constraints. That's a big one, actually. I don't know about other parts of the country, but in California, we have probably 10 different roof types that we run into. Concrete tile, clay tile, um, composite tile, okay? Wood tiles, what the hell? Like we have these, just so you know, composite tiles. Composite tiles is basically a fake ass tile that you step on it and it explodes. Like, do not think you can do anything on those roofs. Like, it'll deteriorate. You try to pull it off, you can't even pull the tiles off. It'll break. So you have to destroy the entire roof, pull it off. Typically, these roofs and wood shake roofs are going to have like slats. So you have to rip off the slats. You have to put down plywood. Plywood is like $1 million of freaking sheet now. So again, like, take your time and like we'll put out a roofing quote, but just know, always ask what type of roof it is. What type of roof you have. It's a CalPac roof. Oh shit. All right, cool. Well, you've probably talked to a bunch of people that probably can't do it. I can do it. Yeah, we can do it. No problem. It's just going to cost a little bit more. And we'll make it worth your while. It's also going to take longer. We need a special contractor. We need all this stuff, but we can do it. Believe me, guys. Any residential job can be done. Any roof install can be done. It's just going to cost more money. um, what's funny is when people think that they can just put a shade structure in the back and like, oh, I want, because I see, on Instagram, I see these beautiful houses with like this shade structure. Can I have one of those? And I just kind of like, yeah, those are cool. Yeah. No, you can't. You can't, man. You have a $300 bill. You need like 30 kilowatts of solar, 10, even 5. You can't, like, you need a huge patio cover for this. It's gonna cost another $10,000 just in engineering and extra parts and steel and wood and all this other stuff. It's gonna take 6 more months to do it because now we have to get a special contractor. Like, just put it on the roof, man. Like, I'll give you a 30-year warranty. Shit, I'll even re-roof your house for free. What's up? Like, get away from the I want it on my back patio. Like, those people, I can probably count with my fingers how many people I've like convinced not to do it just on the basic fact, like, look, listen, I'll save you a bunch of money, and I can refer you to a company that does these aluminum shade covers. They're really nice. They're actually way nicer than solar. Like, who the hell wants solar panels like right there with cables? And they're ugly, man. Go with Aluma covers. They have a nice one here. Use your tax credit for it. Boom. And then, I kind of take them off that idea to say they look nice, and people use it for advertising because they know it's clickbait. It's just like, oh, it looks beautiful. Let me see that. But it's impossible. I mean, you just need a custom contractor to do it, and nobody wants to do it. Desirable roof types. That's a great question, Isabel. Comp shingle. Those are just bam, bam, in there, and 30-year warranty on the comp shingle roof. If it's in good now, okay. The downside to comp shingle roofs is they only last like 20 years, really. Like, you can get a really good if you get a 3-tab roof, like the ones like shingles they sell at Home Depot. That roof is going to be dead in 10 years. Like, no, even there's no sense in installing a 3-tab roof. Comp shingle roofs are typically good, but they tend to go bad easier, quicker, and then they have to remove the system and put it back on, which costs, on average, guys, $75 per panel to remove and replace the system. That's like the going rate in the industry. I don't know. I have friends that are installers that, like, my boy, like I call my boy to say, hey, I had a customer, go on Saturday and remove the system. He'll pay you $500. Like, he'll do it, right? But other than that, like, it might void the warranty or blah, blah, blah. So the company will want to do it. The company's going to want to charge a premium, truck roll, and then workman's comp, and all this crap. So $75 a panel is the minimum that they're going to charge to remove that. So yeah, roofing constraints are a big deal. Just when you see when just submit the roof type in there, and if it's a clay roof, we'll have to do what's called an inlay, remove all the tiles, put down comp shingle, put down the panels, put the tiles back around. It looks really nice. It's worth the money. Trust me. It's going to relieve 10,000 pounds off the roof. Instead of having these heavy tiles, you're going to have solar panels. Well, maybe not 10,000 pounds, more like 2. But still, relieving weight off the roof, making it low profile, sitting in there, like, it's going to look really nice. Like, people, I've seen installers, they'll try to get on there and install it on a medium weight tile. They'll just crack 200 tiles, and they'll spend 3 days trying to replace tiles, and then they crack another one behind them. It's like watching Homer Simpson, like, try to get a donut. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But it cost them a lot more in labor and tiles than it did, like, to just rip that thing apart and then put down comp shingle and. So tile roofs are really good because they usually last like 50 years. Okay, so a good concrete tile roof, even if it's built in the 80s, like, you go in there, we'll check the paper and do a little tear test. And if the paper's super bad, we might need a waiver. But a lot of times, if the roofers did a good job when they built the home, they'll use really, really good paper. Like, I don't know what it's called, but it's like 50-pound test or something. I don't know. But it's like thicker, so it doesn't deteriorate underneath the tiles. So you can put down the hooks and then put the towel back on there, and it's like nothing happened. Like, you can tear that system apart and leave the tiles intact. Like, that's the cool part about concrete tiles, is that if people have a lot of concerns about you drilling holes in their roof, well, good. I'm not going to drill a hole in your tiles. We have to lift it up, put it in there, and then back down, and the seal is not broken. On top of that, we're giving you a 30-year warranty on your roof. So, and that's the objection that I get a lot from people that want to do it on the ground, which brings me to my next one: ground mounts. Try to stay away from those. Like, please just stay away from ground mounts if you can. Try anything in your heart to talk to the customer out of doing a ground mount, because it's just expensive. It takes forever. There's a lot of maintenance to it. You have to cut the grass. There's critters. And it's just, bottom line, the ones that are making all that money are the installers, and it's just going to eat into your savings. Not your savings, into your commission, and it's going to eat into the customer's savings, and it's just going to be kind of a bad deal, right? Especially if it's like a small one. Like, if it's a big ground mount, maybe, if it gets into the 15, 20 kilowatt range, it might make sense, because you can't really put it on the roof, because it's maybe because the roof is heavily shaded, or that roof is going to cost 20 grand to replace anyway. So do it on the ground. There's different scenarios for that. But I get a lot of people that it's like, I've seen like houses where it's like this big giant perfect comp shingle roof. It's like brand new. They just put it in, and they're like, I want it on the ground. I'm like, why? You have a perfectly brand new roof. It's south facing, like, it's tilted. I don't need to put up any racks. I don't care. It's a brand new roof. I'm not touching my roof. I'm like, That's when you have to get into the whole like disarming them about the roof thing. Using the fact that the panels now are like triple black, really sexy. They're nice. You want them on your roof. You're gonna look high tech. It's like you're gonna brag to your friends and make $1,000 on each referral. Come on, you don't want them in the ground collecting dust. Like your kids are good. 500 volts. Are you kidding me? If a kid touches that, like that's it. So I mean, you can use these things or not, but that's kind of what I try to take people away from ground mounts as much as possible, and then just show them the payment. Like I'll exaggerate the price of a ground mount, and then like give them a really good deal on the roof, and say, yeah, I'll slap a 30-year warranty on it. It's a $20,000 difference. You sure you want to do it? Yeah, okay, maybe not. All right, then let's do this on the roof. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to open it up to questions. Oh, credit. Make sure you ask if they have good credit or not, because if their credit is super bad, the first thing we want to do is run their credit. That's the first thing we want to do before we do anything. It's like, all right, let's do a soft check, and we can do a soft check. It doesn't have to be a hard inquiry. We'll just do a soft check with all of our finance companies and see who will go ahead and finance them. And the way to say that is oh, you know what? It's not to tell them, hey, you have shitty credit. Let me check you first. I don't want to waste my time. Although that's what you want to do, right? But also you want to get them the best program out there, right? You want to make sure that you find them the best um, a suitable program that's going to work for them and not destroy their savings, not destroy their ROI. We have finance companies that'll finance down to 600 FICO, i.e. SunPower, who has their own. It's called a RIC. It's a retail installment contract. It's not a loan because it's financed by SunPower. So they have their internal um, underwriting team, right? So they're not going through a bank anymore. They just have their own financing, and they're just funding people out of SunPower's money, right? And because they're doing that, they're able to be a little bit more relaxed than like Sunlight Financial or Goodleap. They'll go down to 600, finance them, and not necessarily destroy their interest rate, right? They'll still give them a 0.9, a 0% 20-year with a battery with SunPower right now. So take a look at that. Leases, I can't even tell you, they got the best pricing in the industry right now. So that really wraps it up for us, though. But questions, I'm super down to take some questions right now. Go ahead and unmute. Questions. Nobody got any questions? This is the time.
Just to clarify and confirm, all of our systems come with not just on-site monitoring by the company, but the owner or the homeowner themselves do get an app with each system where they're able to monitor their production and things of that nature, correct?
Excellent question. And the answer to that is yes. The direct answer is yes. The monitoring comes from typically the inverter system. So Enphase, Solar Edge, SunPower, Sunrun, you name it. So yeah, they're going to come with their monitoring. Now, when you add a third party insurance company like Solar Insure, who gives us the 30-year warranty, they're going to want to be on there as a maintenance partner because they want to make sure that the system is producing. And when something goes wrong, they're going to take the alarm and they're going to take the initiative to start, filling out the RMA information. RMA? I think it is called an RMA, replacement module, whatever. So they'll start filling out that stuff, and then they'll call the contractor and say, hey, there's a bad product or a bad piece of equipment. Go ahead and send it out. I'll pay you for the truck roll. Boom, boom. So yes, they are added on there. We are having conversations with Omidian. When, Luis? Oh, he's over there being Luis. I think Tuesday, right? Omidian, in case you guys don't know who Omidian is, it's a third-party performance guarantee, right? So what I like to do this, I like to offer customers extended warranties, better warranties, and then this is a performance guarantee. So what it is it pays them on kilowatt hours that aren't produced, right? So some companies, most installers will give some sort of production guarantee, but some of them are kind of BS, right? Because they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'll guarantee your performance." up to 90% or 80%, and it has to be this, and it has to be 2 years consecutive, and only void where prohibited, blah blah blah. So there's all kinds of like little fine print on you getting paid out on misproduction, right? So if a tree grows and you don't cut it, then it's your fault. I'm not paying you. If you don't have 3 years of misproduction, I'm not paying you. Degradation, like they slap it up there with like 1% degradation a year. So it's like, it's totally like, yeah, I'm giving you a performance guarantee, but so it's really hard to kind of qualify for it, just like any other maintenance warranty, right? And we see this with manufacturers. When there's a failure on some equipment, I've seen this personally where Enphase, or I'm not going to say names, actually, let me retract that. It was another XYZ inverter company said, hey, my equipment failed because that panel, blah blah blah, and then that panel's like, no way, man, that was you. And then so they're just like over there tossing the ball to each other, and then meanwhile we're like, the customer's like, when are you guys going to come replace this? And this was a multi system failure. I think it was a batch of bad equipment. So by the time we got to the bottom of it, like the customer had lost 6 months of production. It was like he lost like 25%, right? So the installer was like, I'm not paying it. It was your manufacturer. And they just kind of like tossed the ball around. And the customer was like, you know what? Oh, you suck. Like I should have gone with SunPower. But so that's what happened. So that's why we're bringing in Omidian to like so that we can just like, you know what? You guys can argue all you want. I have another insurance for you. Like we're good. And it literally costs like $2 a month more to have an extra insurance. Like dude, sign me up. Say less. Like $2 more for that. $2 more for that. Yeah, definitely. Like now you're covered on all ends. Like no matter if the installer goes out of business, if I go out of business, I don't know. Like you have coverage from these guys, and these guys. So there you go. And you can transfer these to the new buyer. So when you're selling your home, not only do you have like premium equipment, you have, this certificate for 30 years, you have this and that, like here, give it to your real estate agent. Like, here you go, bro, like sell this. So that's, it's just added value. And then we're working on getting the Pearl certification too. I don't know if any of you know what that is. The Pearl certification is basically recognized by the real estate industry, and it gives the property appreciation a stamp of approval, right? So no more of that, like, oh yeah, that's a myth. No way, bro. I have a Pearl certification. I got a Midian and I got Solar Insure. So what do you want? I'm covered all over the place. So it's good for you guys to kind of understand and know these names in the industry. These are the top, players in the game. And because we are where we are, right? We're brokers, we're salespeople, we're consultants, we're all that. We want to make sure that we're giving the customer not only the best service, the best products, but also like the best coverage, right? It's just, I'm a big fan of insurances. Like no matter what goes wrong, I'm not paying out of pocket for this stuff, and I don't want to look bad with my customers when I'm like, but they're not answering my phones, and you said you really know, man. Like I have way too many customers to be worrying about this. So pick up your phone, go call a Midian, like they'll take care of you. Oh, cool, thanks. And then, later on I'll follow up and yeah, they took care of me, they paid, and it was this and that. So it's good to have that, because you're at the end of the day, you're their representative. They're going to call you to bitch you out, and you don't want to be the one left without any answers. Yeah, that wraps it up. Unless you guys have any more questions. That was a good question, by the way, John. That was a long one. I swear I'll make them shorter. I have a lot to talk about.
I have a couple.
Yeah, shoot.
So on the Solar Insure, do we have to select that we want to put that in the bid or the proposal?
It is optional, and it's always kind of standardized in there. You can take it off. It's just 8 cents difference. Okay, 8 cents per watt. It's yeah. Basically, it comes out of your commission. So it's up to you if you want to offer that.
So you could charge to compensate for it, though, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it's always upsold. Definitely, it's always upsold.
Okay. And it's not required. It's basically not required because like I checked with Solar Insure, and if you were an installer, and they were saying that they audit their installers, and they want 90% of the installs to be sold under Solar Insure.
here's the deal. So we're not an installer, and we had this conversation with them. We're like, okay, newsflash, we're not an installer, but we care about our customers, so we want to offer your product. And the tricky part is we have so many different installers that that might not give up the monitoring access and so things like that. So and so you can't hold me to like I need to do this because I can't most of the time. So they're like, okay, fine. So they gave
Okay.
us basically like a originator. We have an originator account, which means that as long as the installer is cool with it, and they're like, shit, if I'm not paying for it, then why not? Heck yeah, man. If they're gonna pay me for my truck rolls, dude, give me the login, like no problem. So yeah, we have an originator account with them, so it's a little different. Yeah, it's optional. You can take it off and turn it on and take it off.
And another quick one is about SunPower. I think I had the mentor, or is it Tony, reach out to you, and since we do have SunPower as an option, you had mentioned in there something about a minimum of 50 kilowatts. Was that a monthly?
It depends on the state.
Depends on the state. Okay.
Yeah. So if it's California, no volume requirement. We're already up and running here, but we have, and then add any if I'm missing: Illinois, Massachusetts, Texas, Arizona, Rhode Island. I think even is on there. New York, New Jersey. I think those are the only ones that are available. There might be two more.
So
Maryland, I think, is in.
Colorado's not.
Colorado's one of them. Yes. Maryland, Colorado, those two. But yes, it's a 50 kilowatt per quarter. Now, it's not a per month. I say per month because I really want you guys to like really try to get this thing through. Especially the first month, because I don't want to put in the call to the RSM there and just establish this relationship. I'm like, yeah, dude, look, I got these guys. We're gonna do this and that. And then we have to go through this whole thing. We have to go through a training and all this, and then we later on we get one deal in 3 months, and it's like they're like, oh, this guy's full of. So I don't want to burn my bridges until we actually have like this commitment to go with it. Now I can run pricing scenarios for you guys in these places to kind of see, okay, this is feasible. All right, let's do it. I'll commit to it. Boom, I got you. Like we'll get you guys some licenses.
So also some clarification in that. It seems to be that Colorado has like a 50-mile radius within Denver that
For SunPower?
Yeah. Well, okay, this is what I mean. There's SunPower in my area, right? But there's two installers. They're actually authorized installers, right?
Oh, yeah, that's different.
They're dealers and installers. Do they end up doing the installs for SunPower? No. Okay.
No, this is the non-install partnership. So our SunPower jobs are installed solely by SunPower.
Okay. What if they don't? So if they don't drive, so do they come to Western Colorado, or do they only install within a certain mile radius of Denver?
I can ask that. I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
But like Pueblo and what's these other ones nearby, like an hour drive and stuff like that. I can't imagine it's not terrible. But again, with volume, anything's possible, man. They're like, I don't care, yeah, just put me out there as long as you give me 4 or 5 deals a month. I'll send a crew out there to do them. No worries.
Okay.
And I also have partners that are SunPower partners in Colorado. So we don't necessarily, actually, we do have a partner in Colorado. And if we don't have it, we'll get it. That's the beauty of One Up Solar is we get anything, any product, and we'll spend a whole day trying to find an EPC partner and get that agreement for you guys. So right now we're working on Kentucky. No, Kentucky we already nailed down. What's that one? We got that one deal that's like ready to sign. West Virginia. Dude, that was a weird one. I was like, West Virginia, is that even a state? So apparently it is. So yeah, we got West Virginia on the map. We're getting the installation agreements settled right now. We got the legal team looking at it, and we're going to put in our first install in West Virginia. We had it on there with Titan, and apparently Titan doesn't go there. And we're like, why is it on the map then? Sheesh. So yeah, we felt embarrassed and we went and fixed it.
Manny, speaking of Titan, are they an option for us in Illinois yet?
Illinois Titan? No, right? No, Illinois is Illinois is but hey, we have better options in Illinois. Yep. Time's cool, but
Cool.
yeah, they're when they set up a market, it takes them a little bit to acclimate. I know I've noticed that because like I did a lot of Titan stuff in Colorado when they first kind of got in there, and it was like I was scratching my head a lot there for sure, nervous. But eventually they'll nail it down. They're a good company.
All right. I see the states in the notes. So thank you.
Yeah, we put the potential SunPower Direct states there. The lease is south of $2 a watt in all these states that are lease capable. Okay, so just keep that in mind.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions? I'm about to take lunch. Get a sandwich. Good. All right.
Thank you, guys.
We're gonna come up with some cool stuff. How long was this one, bro? Did we go? Oh, an hour 20, just like last time. I think we did an hour 20. I think that's gonna be the staple, like about an hour and a half. I get exhausted. I talk a lot, but we're gonna have next. Just stay tuned for the email. We'll send it out on Friday. We got to come up with because we sit here, we talk about okay, what kind of issues are we seeing? What kind of questions are people asking a lot? We just want to be able to provide you value with these trainings and and also record them and stuff like that, so we get our own feedback. Eventually we're gonna put up a like a sort of university type of training videos and stuff like that, so a lot of the stuff is just going to be pre-recorded and put in there for folks to just go in there, type in a subtopic and then go to it. So that's in the works. Dan, did he just jump in? All right, cool. All right, so yeah, stay tuned for the topics for next week, same time, same link. So you just register. You're already registered, so just put it on your calendar, and then we'll send out topics. In the meantime, if you guys have any questions, the phone number that you guys can reach me at directly is my Google Voice number, my burner.
Hey guys, good to talk to you. This is Luis. I just wanted to tell you that this video will be uploaded in YouTube with the next future trainings too. Just wanted to tell you that, and thank you all of you for being here. And I wish you a wonderful luck in your solar journey.
All right, there's my phone number. If you guys need to reach out, ask any questions, feel free. I don't answer after 10 o'clock, so don't try calling me that late.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a great week. Oh, wait, I forgot to mention. First deal, the first 3 deals, right? We said first 3 deals that come in from any of you that join this webinar, and it can't be 3 deals from one person, just one person, one deal. You're going to get a set of iPods Pro, or if you already have some, we're going to do a $200 gift card from Amazon. So you got a week. Submit your first deal. Let's go. I'll help you.
Cool. Thanks, Manny. That was super informative.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot. And yeah, I'm here for that. I hope next week